if you like what we're doing over here at In the Money Media, I've got a suggestion for you. Sign up for our In the Money Plus service. What is it? It's extra content. It's little digests of all the picks as well. So you don't have to take notes while we're yapping during the free shows. You can get a little digest of the picks sent to you. But the extra content is really what I think is key. We're going to have a bunch of new written stuff exclusive for the Breeders' Cup. We're also going to have, for example, a show not just about the 2 Parx races that we covered on this show, but Nick Tamaro and a guest going through all 5 races that are going to make up the late pick 5, and maybe some extra stakes coverage as well. So little extra things like that you'll get from time to time. I think we're going to have one for closing day at Arlington as well that might be dropping soon. And it's a great way to support the show and support us and keep us doing what we can do with a little bit of a measure of independence, which is never a bad thing. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/plus. You can also, as a bit of a half measure that's still helpful, sign up for our email, InTheMoneyPodcast.com/email. That's a free newsletter, basically links to all the shows, keeps you informed of everything going on. And we do from time to time have some exclusive content in there as well. So the 2 links you need to know, InTheMoneyPodcast.com/email, or just go for the gusto, InTheMoneyPodcast.com/plus. PTF here. Very happy that you're joining us for the latest edition of the podcast. Just want to give a shout out to a project I have recently worked on that is now available for sale. You may be guessing what it is from the t-shirt I'm wearing. Yes, I was out at Arthur Ashe last night to see an amazing AEW show. My buddy Chris Jericho, who's been involved with AEW since the beginning, he and I have a new book out. I'm really proud of it. Jericho30.com is where you want to go. It's basically a listing of every match that he worked in his first 30 years in the business with all kinds of cool annotations and whatnot. I want you to check it out, Jericho30.com. And if you like books that have to do with wrestling, another book I worked on in an editorial capacity is going to be coming out in November, Mox by John Moxley. Very proud of the work on that one as well. You can probably pre-order it on Amazon, I'm guessing, from our friends over there. But anyway, very happy to get a chance to see 2 of my authors in action last night with Mox and Jericho. And check it out. Amazon for the Mox book is probably the easiest, or go to your local bookseller and tell them to order it for you. That's probably the more, correct thing to do in a lot of ways. Or just for our book, for the Jericho book, Jericho30.com. Want to remind folks that we're getting close to a really important event for our friends at the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. We want you to join us on October 21st. The TRF is going to be welcoming a worldwide audience to see, hear, and feel the profound effect that the retired racehorses of the TRF have made on countless lives through the Second Chances program at the Lowell Correctional Institution in Ocala, Florida. For right now, we want you to save the date, 8 p.m. on October 21st. Doesn't cost anything. We just want you to watch. We want this to be a big international event. Of course, you can give as well if you want to support the mission. You do that through trfinc.org/players. We still have some whiskey bottles as premiums. You don't want to sleep on those too long. They're not going to be here forever. Start thinking about your holiday gift giving. This 4-year-old rye finished in the apple brandy barrels. It's been very, very popular with the listeners and those who've donated to TRF to get their bottle. Anyway, save the date, October 21st, 8 p.m. For more information about the horse show, you can find a link right on the homepage over at trfinc.org. And I'll have one soon where you can donate at trfinc.org/players. Next up on the show, happy to welcome back. He's become part of the furniture around here. He's been on so often, such is the case when Woodbine has such interesting racing. We have to bring on our resident Woodbine expert. You read him over at InTheMoneyPodcast.com, and you hear me say his name on just about every show we do. Not only is he the In the Money Media business manager, he's also our Woodbine guy. He's Drew Coatney, and he's apparently sitting in the woods, and I think I hear some crickets. What the heck is going on out there?
I don't know if that was a dig at me with old furniture and dust and chalk and being like JK. I don't know if that we went that far, but I'm going there right now. No, we are in wild and wonderful West Virginia, visiting my parents for the long weekend. and we're going to golf later this afternoon. So review some Woodbine and get to golf and have a great weekend.
I like the sound of it. There's good racing action. We're recording this on a Thursday. It should drop on the Thursday. Got this Belmont Pick 6 carryover. Woodbine, of course, in action during the week as well. I know you pay attention whenever you can. But what we do for our friends at Woodbine every late week show is go over their late pick 4. As we say many times, you and I both, I think, are much more inclined to attack these races in terms of finding the horses we like that we can link up in doubles, as you very successfully did last weekend on that special Sunday show that we did. And hopefully we can find similar opportunities today. First race we'll talk about is race number 7. 4:30 on Saturday is the scheduled post time. And we've got stakes action for 3-year-old fillies. We've got 2 stakes during this sequence. We start off talking about this Duchess going 7 on the synthetic. Drew, let's kick off with your thoughts on this one.
I kind of love this race. I'm on the number 5, Miss Speedy. Number 5, Super Moneys. This is coming out before we have morning lines and before we have numbers, so a little hard to read. But we are going with the number 5, Super Moneys. I think that off the long layoff effort showed us everything we need to know, showed a new dynamic to be able to stalk from off of it, overcome adversity, and Cassie and Kimura partner up for this one. And I think we could see this one really take a step forward. I'm excited to see what the morning line is going to be. Anything over 5-2 that sounds like good value. So I'm on the number 5, Super Moneys as an A. Also, number 6, Miss Speedy, first-time blinkers are coming off. And that feels a little significant considering this massive cutback going from 8.5 down to 7 one turn. And I think the runner could be the best speed in here, so that could be a great tactical advantage. And then lastly, Hazelbrook, the number 3, continues to prove every start, looks to only want to go longer in distance. I'm going to have to see a price on this one, though. That will be my B. So I'm going with 2 A's here and 1 B. The 5, 6, and a B is the 3.
Okay, interesting. We have one horse in common. We're both interested in 3 runners. You do make a good point about Miss Speedy. I was thinking was going to be part of what I'm expecting to be a hot pace, but maybe with the on the turn back, etc., maybe she can sit and pounce. I think she's a little interesting too. Has that big figure, but I didn't have her in my original reckoning. I may pop in there as a B. I put Lady War Machine on top. I just thought she looked very strong on figures and form, and apparently there was a note in DRF that she outworked Mighty Heart in that September 5th gallop in the morning. Needs to work out a trip from the inside. As I said, I think there's plenty of speed. And if she just goes, I could see her getting cooked. But maybe she can flop outside and use stalk and pounce tactics. This is a strong A, but I agree that there's plenty of ways to go. I put Hazelbrook second, the one that you mentioned, as a B. I had on the A line. My angle here simply that she's improved every start. The figure from the last day makes her competitive. I like that she strings together races for the first time, and I like that she should get a setup if we're right about the pace being fast in this spot. I had a long shot I wanted to use as a backup. That's the number 9, Bellissime. To me, the interesting thing, the best race was 7 furlongs on synthetic overseas, a closer in a race where that style may suit. Yes, the last race was very slow, but that was farther, and she was wide on both turns. Brendan Walsh, a bit of a pet trainer. I was speaking with Michael Domable about how I think for both of us, one moment when we really started to put Brendan Walsh on our pet trainer / always give an extra look list was a few years ago. Gosh, it was probably 3 years ago now when we did a Kentucky Downs preview pod, and Mike Maloney reluctantly almost talked about how much he likes betting the Walsh runners. Obviously, he's had just all manner of success since then. I just thought Bellissime was a little bit interesting as a B. You asked about the price that you were going to get on your top pick, Super Moneys. For what it's worth, on the Equinedge morning line, listed as 8-1. So if that price materializes, I would imagine you're going to be pretty darn interested.
I will be. Absolutely. I think your top choice arguably could have gotten a nice pace flow setup, but did run the best figures, and so is logical. So I can't argue that.
Let's move on to race number 8, my friend. Fillies and Mares, starter allowance types. 7.5 on the inner turf. We talk a lot on these shows about horses we think are going to be suited for the inner versus the outer. And that might come into play here. I went with number 5, Meet the Soprano, as the top pick. I thought would get an excellent trip, not a ton of speed in this spot by my reckoning, and should be close up and has some good races on the inner. I think she's subtly improving, could be tough to handle. Plus, hunch play for fans of the boys from Satriale's Pork Store. I'm with Meet the Soprano. I also wanted to use the 7 Monastery Lane. I listed as a B. Closed last time against what Timeform had as a tougher starter allowance group and has some good old races on the inner. Could be suited to this course. I had it 5 and 7 in race number 8. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'm single to the 7 purely on that last replay. 2 loose leaders caught that pack sleeping and broke free about 6 lengths into that far turn. And the only one making up the best ground was Monastery Lane. Today, with limited pace, I think we'll be able to lay much closer, won't let that happen again, and should be able to get the job done. I'm single to this horse. I think, like you said, has proven inner ability as well.
Stone cold single for you. No backups listed.
All right. Stone cold, sir.
For those listening who can't see the nice OK symbol.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's brain left.
No, it's okay. I like it. It gives me an excuse to remind people that you should be subscribed to our YouTube channel. There's a real chance, and we need to talk about this off air, Drew. We won't do this production meeting in the middle of the show, but there's a real chance we're going to be expanding our YouTube content and our YouTube only content in the near future. And you should really be subscribing, getting the notifications and all that stuff in the Money Media over on YouTube. And hey, even if you don't watch them that much, subscribing helps us and watching helps us on there as well. Plus, you get to see the Brooklyn Bunker every week. I mean, I'll admit, these are not the most visually arresting shows. It's more or less people talking, but a lot of people consume their media this way. And we might be doing some things with more graphics and fun stuff as well. And hey, while I'm plugging stuff that's available on our YouTube channel, Odds Honest Truth is back this week. Producer Craig's passion project covering all things in terms of football betting. Special guest appearance from TV's Matt Bernier on there as well this week. Check out the new Odds Honest Truth over on our YouTube channel, or you can listen to the pod version as well. Race number 9. We've got more stakes action. Grade 3. It's the Bold Venture. 6.5 on the synthetic. And we see the return to the races of Pink Lloyd, a horse who I feel like I'm always with and you're always against. Will the trend continue in the Bold Venture, Drew?
I feel like Boomhauser here, the old boy. Yeah, he's getting it done. I mean, come on. Like, there's nothing in here that's going to really shake and stick this one, except for I will be using a hair of money on Magical Man. I've been chasing this horse forever. I think could sit an inside trip stalking if Pink Lloyd runs into enough trouble, and that is if and enough. Like, it's just not if runs into trouble. It needs to be enough trouble. Could potentially upset this field. I like that one for an underneath as well if you're looking at some of the vertical exotics. So Pink Lloyd for me and the rail horse Magical Man.
We see it similarly. I had a different fuzzy I wanted to use along with Pink Lloyd, but just to talk about him, somebody might take a look and be like, oh, he's lost 3 in a row. Has he gone off form? But look at who he was running against in those spots who don't show up here. Super Stonehenge and Ride a Comet, 2 serious horses. Plus, you look at the trip that Pink Lloyd had the last day, I think you can argue that he was probably best in that spot. My main inclination is to single and move on. But if you're looking for a horse to come with, or you're looking for, maybe a lone backup line, on Pace Figs, I could tell you a story about the stablemate reconfigure in this spot. And the case for this horse is, could be potentially loose on the lead and might be able to hang around for at least a piece. Why enter 2 when 1 would do all that stuff? I will probably do something small with number 6, reconfigure, but it's almost entirely about number 4, Pink Lloyd. Would love to see the old boy make it back to the winner's circle. What an incredibly cool horse. And he might just have this field over a barrel, which leads us to the anchor leg of the Pick 4, the last race on this Saturday card, 6:05 p.m. for race 10, 3 and up allowance race, 1 mile and a 16th on the inner turf. Drew, how are we going to get paid?
It gives me heartburn to say this horse, but the number 11, Juan Pablo, is supposed to win, I think, and you can tell in my trepidation of my voice. I got to go back to the well one more time with this horse. It continues to burn money for me, but it just looks to set up perfectly, wide trip, out in the clear, all that good stuff, best tactical speed. But I'm going to spread as well. Let's go with the one, Danny's Victory. Drexler First after the claim, firing well. Last few events, this one has been closing into those slowish paces and getting up fairly well into the frame. Last work was significant. They haven't been able to put the mornings together with the afternoons. Hopefully, they build some more speed into this one. Number one, Danny's Victory. Figures are light. Price will be high.
That's a big claim angle there too. With not that there's anything wrong with the previous barn, but Drexler doing very well in those situations. I can see that one if I squint for sure.
Yeah. And number 5, Court Battle, drops out of the claiming ranks into this allowance company. However, there's not a lot of speed in here, so I would imagine this one might be the loose leader here and could just get away with them. The value line on that one stands around 8-1. And then number 7, Broadway. It's a defensive use for me. I think there's a second off the layoff angle you could look at with the strong workout tab, strong connections, figures fit. And it just feels like there's still upside left on the number 7, whereas some of these others like Juan Pablo, right, we know what that one's capable of at the 5-year mark. So I'm going with those horses. Again, I'll run those back as 11, 1, 5, 7, all as A's, and price dependency will matter. So if we're getting a short price on one of these, when we see the morning line, I may bump up one of those as like an A+ line to hit a couple more times.
And if you're playing doubles, you'll be able to see the actual prices, so from the race before. So that's another way you might be able to leverage your opinion or move that around. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as a big old spread. We have you list 4. I have 2 of your 4 in the mix, and then another one. We see the best of speed a little bit differently in this spot. I actually put Broadway on top. I just thought that from a condition point of view, this is unusual for an old school guy like Atfield coming back in 14 days for the second start for the new barn after that 127-day break. I think he looks poised to move up. The horse, I think, has more finish than showed last time. I think he was empty. I think he needed the run. And I think that it's going to function as a de facto workout. And I think Broadway could be interesting. Again, we don't have morning lines at this point, let alone any prices people are betting into, but listed at 8-1 on the Equinedge line, anything like that, I felt confident making Broadway the top pick. Equinedge morning line predicts Small Talk to be a big favorite. I like the horse, though. This is the one I think is the probable best speed, has shown that versatility of running style, plenty of figures good enough, despite taking, I'm assuming one of the reasons you didn't like did take 11 tries to win the maiden, but I really wanted to keep on side. And then you mentioned Juan Pablo. This is a horse. I thought what was interesting was looking at the specifics of the pace line last time. I just thought it was an inefficient run. Horse ran fast early and late and sort of, slower in the middle. Just a weird looking pace line for a horse that you and I have both chased some, maybe with a more efficient run through. Juan Pablo has competitive figures. He's a horse that we've both talked about on these shows, and the 4-1 of the Equinedge morning line would be pretty darn interesting to me. I had it 7, 8, 11, all as A's. Anything else on your mind, Drew, before we let you get back to golf and doing West Virginia things?
No, I'm looking forward to this. If it does wash off, we'll try and put some updates on Twitter and in the actual written. So expect those to come out on Saturday morning on the blog. And we'll kind of keep going with the $50 wagering angle, follow along with the bets and how we approach our wagering structure, which is how we make our money here and have fun.
Yes, people enjoyed the $100 bankroll gimmick that we busted out last weekend. We'll have to do that again, at least for special occasions. Give us feedback, too. What else are you looking for us to do on these shows, vis-a-vis Woodbine content or any of the content? One of the really fun things about this network is that ability to interact with fans and listeners and viewers, and whether it's answering questions or just hearing your thoughts, we're eager to hear them. Drew, thank you very much. Have a good time out there on the golf course. Don't hustle too much.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to say one last thing. Congrats to Woodbine on the massive handle weekend. I forgot to mention that. Congrats to those all of those individuals, all those women and men who've worked so hard to put on such a great product. And it was on full display Saturday and Sunday with some of those fantastic 2-year-old races. I mean, come on. It was just the best.
It was great. And they're doing great on the standard bred side, too. If you haven't checked out our standard bred show yet, Edison Hatter is absolutely slaying it over there. And I think a lot of flat players would be surprised by the size of the pools at Mohawk. This is something I've been very tempted to take a look at. So far, all I've done is, parrot what folks on the show have said. I haven't actually properly handicapped the racing up there yet. But the numbers have been strong, and you're absolutely right to give props, because after a very rocky start to the meet due to factors out of their control, they're picking up steam every week, and it looks like we're going to be covering them right through the end of their meet this year, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, no, I Jim Leader's a fearless leader. I'd probably go work for him if I had the opportunity. So tip of the hat.
Mr. Lawson does a good job up there of Spruce Stable, as we discussed on the show on Monday. All right, good stuff. We will be talking. Drew, cheers, my friend.
Cheers. Thank you.
Today's show and this next segment in particular brought to you by our friends at Equinedge, AI technology for horse racing handicappers. I love it. To me, it sits in the pocket. It gives you a ton of actionable information at your fingertips, but it doesn't do all the work for you. There's still a thought process, and you can incorporate it into your handicapping. Basically, you can let it do as much of the handicapping as you want it to do, and you're going to get a boost in your play because there's great proprietary metrics like the SOR, strength of race, and the GSR, genetic strength rating. That one in particular, I have found absolutely invaluable to do pedigree work at a glance. There's also betting tools in there to help you construct your wagers as well. Some great stories of Equinedge users scoring out using their betting tool, including from our own Matt Vagvolgi. Equinedge.com is the website, and you can use it for free for a month if you use our promo code FREEMONEY, or you can go directly to Equinedge.com/free-money. Remember, there's only one E in the middle of Equinedge. That E does double duty in both words. Equinedge.com/free-money. Next up, very excited to welcome back to the show. You were just hearing about his product in the previous ad break. From Equinedge, it's accomplished contest player Scotty McKeever. Scotty, how are things?
They're going good. How are you, Peter?
Things are very good. We've been talking a bunch about these live streams you've been doing over at the Equinedge YouTube channel. I know some of our regular listeners have gotten stuck into those, enjoying the content you're putting out. I understand you have another show this weekend. Tell folks what they can find on your YouTube channel.
So I'm doing a show on YouTube, and you can watch that on Twitter as well as Twitch as well. And we're going to be covering Gulfstream and Parx and a couple of big stakes races there we can talk about if we've got some time. And then also I'm going to be covering Laurel Park. So covering those two tracks on Saturday on my show. So you can subscribe to Equinedge and if you'd like, and you'll get notifications on an email of what time that show is.
So one thing that's so fun about working with you and knowing how Equinedge works, we could look at a couple of races on the fly now just to demonstrate the power and how quickly you can get a line on some of these races. Let's actually change the script a little. I know it says on the graphic there we're going to talk Pennsylvania Derby and Gentilly, and we will. But let's start off with a couple of these Gulfstream races because we've got these interesting 2-year-old stakes, starting with race number 9 on Saturday, which goes at 4:30. We'll be back soon with the Keeneland sales going. Being midway through, a little more than midway through at this point. We'll be back with an episode of Baby Talk soon with Sean Tugel and our friends from Gainesway Farm. But let's do a couple of 2-year-old stakes races right here, right now with Scotty. When you're taking a glance through Equinedge at this 9th race on Saturday, what are you seeing? Anybody leap off the page at you?
Well, there is a horse, and we'll talk about that. But I think one of the things that people used to say to me is that maiden races, first-time starters, horses doing something for the first time, like going on turf for the first time, they didn't know what to do. And here's an example of how much easier it is when you use Equinedge and our genetic strength rating, our GSR, is you're getting used to now, and you're starting to see it as well. And there's a horse named Outfoxed, and this horse is 68% on our numbers to win. It's a third-time starter. And for Belmont, Edgar Zayas is aboard, and this horse just looks like an absolute beast. Stretching out here, the genetic strength rating is 80. So it's not only got a 68%, it's not only the other algorithm, the Scotty algorithm's top pick, it's the genetic strength rating's top number of 80. And it's also on Equinedge, we're 4-5 on the morning line, 4-5. And we're talking about a race that's going off on Saturday. And there's no odds makers morning line yet, but we have that up front. So you can actually get tracks a couple of days sooner than you would get anywhere else.
It definitely makes our jobs as an analyst easier. You're going to hear a little bit later in the show. Actually, the next segment on the show is going to be Drew Coatney and I talking about Woodbine on Saturday, which we did without the morning lines, but we will often use that as a reference point just to say, hey, how do we think this one's going to get bet? And it's, it's a very interesting little bit of signal. So outfoxed potentially on the shorter end of the price spectrum, but maybe one that you could single/press in those late day wagers. How about the other division of these Florida bred 2-year-old stakes, race number 11 on Saturday at Gulfstream? Did you have anything in there?
Well, Octane is going to be your favorite, and we've got the horse set at even money on the morning line. Has a good GSR, but a horse you might want to take a look at is Catton, the 9 horse. This horse has our top GSR of 80 as well. And the what's interesting about this horse is Edgar Zayas aboard this horse, so he might win both versions of this FTBOA stakes. So you got the fillies in race number 9, you got the males here in race number 11, and Catton horse. This horse looks pretty good as well, stretching out in distance, jumps up from a 70 GSR to an 80 GSR. So this horse is looking very good. Cajun's Magic, the 2 horse for Michael Yates. This horse has done nothing wrong. I think this horse can run good. On the stretch out, should be still okay, but I'm thinking it's going to be a 2-horse race between Octane, the 7 horse for Carlos David, Ismael Armero. This horse has won 2 of 3 races lifetime. Going to stretch out, no problem. Going to be on the lead. Going to be dangerous speed. But this Catton, really, I'm going to make this my top pick in this race. I think this horse is going to run a good race. The stretch out's going to be good, and I think Edgar Zayas is going to win both versions of this FTBOA.
One thing that I've noticed in terms of genetic strength rating that I think is interesting, I know you guys perform all kinds of metrics on your metrics, essentially, using AI principles. It's always, the computer's always trying to make the computer better. One thing I'd love to know how it tests out is when a horse has a significant, we'll call it a GSR differential, right? Because Catton at an 80, the next best GSR in the race is all the way down at a 69. I wonder what the ROI would be if you only bet horses that had a 10-point GSR edge over the rest of the field. You might want to filter that further for 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds so you're not worried as much about established form for an angle like that. I mean, for me, the more the form is established, the more a horse has done something, I'm less concerned about the GSR. But in a situation like this, I find it critical. Would you guess that would be a potentially winning angle, that GSR differential?
So, yes, it would be. We don't run the statistics yet. We don't give them because we don't know how to give them out, in the sense where if we gave that statistic out to everybody, then this horse would go off at 1-9, right? So we really want everything to be subjective. You're hoping to see some of these different metrics line up, but I've used this enough to know that the 80 GSR all the way down to a 69, especially for a horse that's lightly raced. This horse hasn't burned a lot of money, so we don't know how good this horse can be. It's an advantage for people that use Equinedge because people can't really see this horse. So you probably will end up getting 5 to 10 to 1 odds on Catton, and this horse could win, and Edgar Zayas can win both versions of the FTBOA. But yeah, you would think so. That's a big differential of 11 points. Here's the thing, too. The win percentage on the 7 horse is 40%. So this horse clearly needs the lead. If anybody goes with this horse, then it's going to set it up for a horse to close. But also, you would think Catton's going to even improve more because the GSR jumps 6 points. So not only is the GSR the highest, but it's also jumping from last race to this race higher. And then if you throw out the 7 horse for whatever reason you don't like it, then it's just a wide open race on win percentage numbers, because 40%, there's only 60% left in there. And so even though Catton's only 10%, if you think the 7's beatable, then you would have to give the 9 a really strong look based on that GSR.
Let's move on to our originally scheduled programming, Scotty. Race number 11 at Parx. I'm going to tell you after this segment how you can get some more information on this stakes-laden card at Parx. We're just going to be talking about the 2 grade 1s, starting with this cotillion. How did you see this one?
Well, this is an absolute grab bag. So when I was looking at this race, and I looked at it for a long time, I kept changing my mind of who I was going to make my top pick. And I really kept coming down to either the 6 horse or the 1 horse. I am concerned that Private Mission, if I don't use it, it's Scotty's top pick. The top win percentage is only 23% in Clairiere. So that tells you just right there that the race is wide open. But Private Mission is for sure going to be on the lead for Bob Baffert and Flavian Pratt. And the horse is extremely fast, won by 6.5 in his first Grade 3 race in the Torrey Pines back at Del Mar back in August. And, that speed is dangerous. Now, Always Carina, who Flavian Pratt gets off of, the 8 horse, is extremely fast as well, but the 7's faster. And so I'm going to throw out the 8 horse, Always Carina, who's 6-1 in the morning line, just for that reason alone, that Pratt chooses Private Mission, the 7, and also the 7's faster. And the 8 horse has done nothing but either go to the lead or lose. And so that's an angle as well. When you can throw out horses that are going to get bet and you can throw them out, then that opens up for other legs. If you're going to play horizontals, or even in this race, you can make some money leaving out who one of the favorites is going to be. 8's going to get bet. Now, if for whatever reason, Always Carina can rate, then she could be tough. I'm going to take the angle that she needs the lead and the 7 is faster. I'm going to go with Obligatory, the 1. This one, throughout the last race, lost footing, went off at 3-1 in the test stakes, a Grade 1 race, much tougher than what's lined up in here. And I think that Obligatory is going to get a good trip. Jose Ortiz for Belmont, and 10-1 on the morning line. This horse is actually, in fact, 9-2 on the Equinedge morning line.
I think that's more reflective of the chances too, to be honest with you. I think Obligatory makes a lot of sense off that impossible trip the last day, not breaking, caught behind a race that absolutely held together with Bella Sophia dominating it in the end. Obligatory, one I've long liked. And this is very interesting, going from 7 furlongs to 1 mile and a 16th. When I see that, the next thing I do, how does that check out on GSR? Well, 80 GSR. Now, granted, it was an 82 going 7, but the idea, she's supposed to be just as good and quite possibly better than a lot of the competition going longer, with the possible exception of the other one that you mentioned, number 6, Clairiere. I like the 2 of them to, my only fear, I do always like to have a speed number in there, but in this case, I'm just going to try to get through it 1-6. I think I'm tempted at the likely prices to put Obligatory on top, but I've been a Clairiere fan for a very long time. Felt like that was a awfully good effort the last day. Had a little bit of trouble. Didn't really have the race flow in the favor. I think she was bred for the 1.25 miles for sure, but I don't think she's some sort of dour stayer who needs it. I think she'll do just fine around this configuration. I'm going to call it 6-1. Just to recap, in your final analysis, were you going to try to use the 1, the 6, and the 7?
So I'm going to use personally. I'm going to do a bigger ticket singling the 1 horse Obligatory, and then I'm going to do another ticket spreading 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9. By the way, note on Clairiere, the 6 horse. You see the GSR last time out, 98. I have never seen a GSR that high in my life. All of her GSRs are in the 80s and 90s. I've never seen that at all. It really quite incredible.
Spectacular, right?
Unbelievable. But I will say this though about her: she has burned a lot of money. She just has not been able to. Since winning the Rachel Alexander in February, she's really burned a lot of money, seconds and thirds, picking up minor pieces. So I didn't know what to think about her. She's definitely no key. And Private Mission, the 7 horse, is extremely fast. This is a wide open race, and I'm going to give you a long shot to look out for as well. And that's the 3 horse Will Secret. This one can run. I just have a feeling that this one's going to run much better. John Court is aboard this 3-year-old filly for Dallas Stewart. And one more long shot. Leader of the Band is the only horse to have raced here at Parx 6 times, earned $18,000 per start. Doesn't have the class of these. Only raced 8 times though, and she's been in the money in all 8 times. All 8 races, but sometimes, and we've seen this before in wide open races, the horse that actually has the experience at the home track can get up and win. And this is for John Service and Frankie Pennington.
And you're going to get a big price there. I mean, Equinedge morning line has it at 15. That feels more right to me than the 12 of the morning line. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes off, just looking at the speed figures, 20 or higher. So certainly one to consider getting involved in your verticals. So Let's move on to the other Grade 1. We've got the Pennsylvania Derby. In case you haven't heard, Bob Baffert not happy with the post position for Medina Spirit or something. Anyway, Medina Spirit will not be playing. They're taking their ball and staying in Southern California, which really changes the complexion of this race, especially from a pace point of view. In the end, how do you see it, Scotty?
Well, one, I don't understand why this horse would be eliminated based on post. That makes no sense to me. Sorry, but it's true. This horse is so fast. That post makes no difference whatsoever. So I'm sorry, but that's a horrible excuse. Secondly, Hot Rod Charlie is going to be the horse to beat. I mean, just so consistent. I mean, he gives his heart out every single time. I like the spacing between races. Sent the Haskell for Doug O'Neill. Flavian Pratt's aboard. And I'll tell you what, you better look at Flavian Pratt for both of these races, both the Cotillion and the Pennsylvania Derby. So in the Cotillion with Private Mission going gate to wire, Flavian Pratt, and here with Hot Rod Charlie. So I'm on Hot Rod Charlie. And
single, no backups for you?
So here's what's interesting. I think American Revolution, the 10 horse, is the speed of the race. And this horse has won 3 straight races. We're not sure this horse's class yet for Todd Pletcher, Luis Saez. So this horse, especially now that Medina Spirit's out, the 10 horse could go gate to wire. So very interesting there, but I'm going to single Hot Rod Charlie.
All right, Hot Rod Charlie to the hoop for Scotty in this spot. I was thinking that with Medina Spirit out, Midnight Bourbon could be the main pace, but you got to figure Hot Rod Charlie's going to be laying close. You made your case for American Revolution to be up there as well. Can this play to have something chaotic happen, and what could that chaotic thing be? I'll make you a goofy case for a horse that requires a little bit of imagination, but I think his presence in the race is pretty darn interesting, and that's number 3, Speaker's Corner. I absolutely respect the logicals, who I see as Hot Rod Charlie and Midnight Bourbon, but I'm going to throw a little 3 in the mix there as well. Second off the layoff, made that very nice comeback to the races, and these connections, I feel like they're not here unless the horse is telling them to be here. Godolphin doesn't tell Bill Mott where to put these horses, and you've got a horse just looking at breeding, Street Sense, Bernardini mare, going from 7 to 9. That could be a reason for Speaker's Corner to improve. You don't really see it on the GSR, so that, I'm not singling here, but I'm going to use all 3 rather equally. If you made me pick an order, I'd go 8, 7, and 3 in the Pennsylvania Derby. Scotty, what else we got to mention? What else is going on in the Equinedge world?
Well, real quickly, since you're bringing up a long shot with a low GSR, I'm going to give you a long shot with a low GSR as well. And that's Keep Me in Mind. Robert Diodoro, Joe Rosario's aboard. If there is any kind of pace in here, now Medina Spirit is out, but I still think there's some pace. Keep Me in Mind is going to really set a good trip under Joe Rosario. The horse is somewhat tactical. I just have a very good feeling about Keep Me in Mind from the sense of this horse has some class, lightly raced, been in the money in 6 of the 11 tries. But this horse seems to be coming on right now. The Travers Stakes that, didn't have the best effort there, went off at 11-1, but that horse had trouble in that race. So if you look at prior to that, the Jim Dandy, this horse fits in here. I really think that Hot Rod Charlie's the horse to beat. I'm going to actually do a 7-2 exact to Keep Me in Mind. So watch out for that. As far as other things going on, Peter, we, right now Equinedge is just really taking off. People are really, our retention, thank God, has just been such a blessing. Once people use the tools, and you can see this with like the GSR, the strength of race, the SOR, just all the things that are right there when the metrics line up are so good. People are really, they don't go anywhere. They're like, oh, okay, I see what this is all about now. I think what they recognize is this is not telling them what to play. These are tools that you get very, very fast, and they're not statistics either. They're metrics, right? And these metrics start lining up, and you start seeing, oh man, look at top GSR, top SOR, top Scotty Pick, big win percentage. Okay, this is a single. You can find that stuff real fast and go from race to race to race. And I think that people are seeing the value in maybe their time, right? I don't have 6-7 hours to handicap all day long and then watch the races all day long and then figure out my betting. And I think, lastly on this note, what people are seeing is instead of spending so much time handicapping, they trust the system a little bit more now. And then what they do is they focus more on their ticket preparation or their betting.
which the tool can also help you with. But I agree, when you can sort of human plus machine using the ticket generator, as we've discussed, and we need to do a sample of that on some other show just to show people how easy it is to say, okay, I want to do a series of tickets pressing this horse, and you can use the tool then to build for the legs where you don't have as strong an opinion, and that combination of human horse player intuition and computer technology, it's powerful. So I'm glad you brought that up. All right, Scotty, we will see you on your YouTube channel on Saturday. Would love to pick a time soon to come on with you and do some more live streaming. We did a pregame show at Del Mar. Maybe we got to do one next time. Come on for an hour or so and bet a couple races. I always enjoy. I learn something about the tool every time we talk, and fun to hang out with. So let's do it.
Right on. Well, you're always welcome on the show. It always makes the show that much better. As a matter of fact, that was one of the more highly rated shows when you were on down at Del Mar. That was fun. So we've got to do that again soon.
Good stuff, my man. All right, Scotty, we'll be talking soon.
Talk soon. Okay, thank you.
Just want to give an update on Horse Player Happy Hour. There was a little miscommunication. No, I don't want to say that. No need to call attention to my mistakes. 3, 2, 1. Just want to give an update on Horse Player Happy Hour. Our regular season is over. David Browning, longtime leader, has won himself a seat to the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. Congrats to him. Our playoffs begin next week. That's Thursday, September 30th. The players who have qualified will be informed by email shortly if they haven't already. Going to be a really fun process as we winnow this field of 90 entries down to one who will win also a BCBC seat. But just because you're not in the playoffs doesn't mean you can't play. We're going to run a $179 qualifier next Thursday, the 30th. As well, races TBD, but be on the lookout, because remember, just like the regular season, in the playoffs, all of the house cut goes to charity. What a great way to support the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation and the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. This game will be up on horseplayers.com probably late Monday, early Tuesday. You'll be hearing more from me about it, but we just want you to have it on your radar. Save the date, Thursday, September 30th, the start of the playoffs for Horse Player Happy Hour, and a chance for you to win in directly through a qualifier as well. Look for more information on horseplayers.com. Next up in the show, very happy to continue our international coverage. We had a great team for you the last time we did that. We've reunited them. We'll go around the horn with our introductions, starting off with a man I've had the pleasure of talking a bunch with lately about international racing and his life and time in the game. He is currently freelancing for a number of places, and he's going to be a big part of the Breeders' Cup notes team as well. Michael Adolphson, how are things?
Things are going well. I'm here in Dubai. It's 6 p.m., so I'm ready for my glass of wine as soon as this ends.
You can drink on these shows, that's not frowned upon around here like it might be in some places. Directly below Michael, we have a man that has also been extremely active, doing international write-ups over at InTheMoneyPodcast.com. He apparently, there's a rumor that he broke into a farm, somehow found the Wi-Fi, and is doing the show from there. It's better than a Panera Bread, not a sponsor yet. Anyway, Alex Sausville, what's up, my man?
Yeah, I didn't have to break in this time, but hello to everybody. And if you can see Colby behind me, I'm sitting back on the couch. Where is he? There's Colby.
Nice.
He wanted to enjoy the show as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know, people ask me what's different about your show than, there's all these podcasts now. What's different about yours? And I say, well, we are the longest continuously running one, ABR award and all that. But the real differentiator, we drink on the shows, and there are a lot of animal and child interruptions. Directly below me in our little 4-person Brady Bunch style grid here, we have also from In the Money Media, literally from Laurel, it looks like, based on the background here, the host of her own excellent talk racing to me, Naomi Tucker. Naomi, what's going on down there in the Mid-Atlantic?
All good here. We've got a big race day coming up, 10 races. And unfortunately, it is 10 a.m. here, so not socially accepted yet to start drinking wine. So I'm going to have to stick with coffee for now. Then maybe we'll
Mary,
switch over later.
You might be able to get that in off the goalpost.
I should, you know what? I've been actually, my colleague Callie's been really decorating the office, so we should maybe put some kind of, a cocktail bar in there or something like that.
I'll consult on that project for free if you're
Oh, okay.
So we're mainly here to talk about the 2 win and you're in races at Newmarket this weekend, but I'm going to throw it open to if anybody has a thought about some of the other important action that could be yielding potentially Breeders' Cup starters. But let's start off with the Rockfell Stakes, which is actually on Friday. One of the reasons we're recording on Thursday this week is so we can have this out in time for folks to wake up on the East Coast or the West Coast, so anywhere in North America on Friday morning and have a chance to have a bet with Breeders' Cup implications. And we'll start this one off with you, Naomi. Who do you like in the Rockfell?
I mean, of course, it seems, especially with a bit of form, Frankie, that Majestic Glory is going to take most of the attention because she beat Wild Beauty in her last outing at Newmarket on the July course. Now, we know that Wild Beauty then went on to win the Grade 1 at Talma at Woodbine over the weekend by about 2.25 lengths. So obviously, this is a great sort of up in form for her because Majestic Glory out and out beat Wild Beauty just on sheer talent. It seems she bested her fair and square. So seemingly the 2-year-old to be in this spot. I did have a look actually at a filly that I have a fair bit of interest in, Jumbly. Roger Charlton, Holly Doyle is set to take the ride again. The last time out at Kempton, now that is on the all weather, she was going that 7 furlongs and she was just never even really asked. Now we know that was an easier field, but she can only best what's put in front of her. But she's out of a Group 1 winner, Pretty Polly Stakes heroine Thistlewood, who was terrific over that 1 and 2 furlong. So to me, it seems that 7 furlongs or even further is going to actually move her up even more. And she's about 9-2, I think she was last time I checked. So definitely have interest in her just because she seems so progressive.
That's a fair point for sure. Alex, let's move it counterclockwise to you to get your thought on the Rockfell.
So obviously the 2 that Naomi mentioned, Jumbly's another one that I really like in this spot. As far as the form itself, there is a lot of form around some pretty good horses in this field. And there's an interesting long shot here. Sunstrike, Oisin Murphy's going to be riding it. This horse has finished 4th and 3rd the last few starts, but it's come behind some pretty classy fillies. A filly Inspira, who's been fantastic, won the Mayhill at Doncaster not too long ago. And, of course, Wild Beauty, who we saw what she did up at Woodbine. Last time out, just was caught between horses, had a little bit of a run, but as they got getting closer to the line, started to get bumped around a little bit. Is going to be, I believe, 14-1 right now in the market. And I think the form's good enough and the runs should improve.
Interesting long shot to consider for sure. Michael, where are you in the Rockfell?
This is a tough race. I think it comes down to a few on top. You just kind of have to find your best value there. I mean, thinking about this race, I do think that you have to consider that one or two of these horses is going to come out of there looking at the Breeders' Cup. 6 horses of the past 9 winners have gone on to the Breeders' Cup after this race, 5 of them in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. So it's always an interesting race. Jumbly is probably my top pick of the 3 favorites in here, along with Girl on Film. Should be very tough in there for all your Duran Duran fans. And
I was going to say Majestic, if you didn't.
I know. And Majestic Glory, I'm just playing the market here. I think the Majestic Glory 7-2, 3-1 is going to cut in half. I just think that the late money is going to go on her big time. If my each way in this race, if I'm looking for value in a big way, if you like Jumbly, you have to like Femme Friendly at 33-1. She's a helmet, huge fan of him as a sire. She's a granddaughter of Alvarado, who was a great mare. She only lost to Jumbly by a length 2 starts back. She's much better than her odds, and she has a very similar profile to Nazuna in this race, who finished a very good second at long odds last year. She's a big, strong helmet, just like her father. I just think that she's going to love every bit of the ground at Newmarket, and she's going to be very tough for an each way price.
That would be your top pick with serious consideration to the 5, 3, and 7. Am I reading that right, Michael?
I'm putting Jumbly on top and Femme Friendly as my each way.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So 5 and 2 is really what we're concerned about in the Rockfell. Let's talk very quickly. Only if any of you have a thought. Didn't prep you guys for this, but the Joel Stakes, which is just one race later on the card. To give folks the timings, I think it's going to be 10 a.m. East Coast time for the Rockfell, and then 10:35 for the Joel. Anybody have a chance to look at this one? A thought they want to share?
Yeah, the 4 of the past 6 winners of the Joel have gone on to the Breeders' Cup Mile, so it is going to have an influence this year. I know Master of the Seas and Queen Supreme are both looking at the Breeders' Cup Mile after this race. Queen Supreme also considering the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. But the story of the race has been Battle, whether or not he's going to be himself and return to the winner's circle. He is second choice right now in the market, and a lot of people think that Master of the Seas is going to jump up here. To me, I have to give it to Master of the Seas. I hate to pick the chalk, but I just think that he has so much more to show.
Fair enough. And those are great clues you're giving about runners to pay attention to going forward for the Breeders' Cup Mile. We'll do some more content paying attention. We're going to try to get as early of a look as possible about European raters who might be showing up at the Breeders' Cup. That might be a whole special show. Michael, where do you get that info? Is that just from reading the trades over there about horses that are going to be pointed, or is there a source of information to point people to?
For these, I always just research through what's being publicized, and Mike DeCock, who is kind of the real trainer of Queen Supreme, he's stated a long time ago she's a winner that she's going to the Breeders' Cup. And Master of the Seas, it's long been rumored that this was a one stop for him on the way to the Breeders' Cup, possibly, if he runs well.
Very interesting. Anybody have any other thoughts on Friday, or shall we pivot to Saturday? Pivot, we shall.
Yeah, we can pivot.
Let's do it.
I would say the same thing on that one.
There
Would
you go.
anyone like to hear about the card at Laurel? No.
Off the turf.
We're gonna have some Laurel content coming up. Actually, Naomi, I didn't even tell you this. It does look like we have a deal in place to cover Maryland Million Day in a couple of weeks in full. So Laurel will get its due. And I know it's also going to be covered in a previous segment on the show. We were yapping with Scotty McKeever of Equinedge, and Laurel and Gulfstream are going to be the tracks that he's following. Of course, we're going to have you on one screen and him on the other, but we're going to keep the sound on with you.
Sounds good.
Let's pivot to Saturday and talk about another Breeders' Cup win in your in race. This is the Royal Lodge. We're going to go back in the other direction. And Michael, that means we're starting with you. Who do you like in this race that has also proved a very important pointer for the Breeders' Cup?
This race it's a tiny bit chalky. He is the second choice, but Corriebus, his win at Newmarket was so good. He reminded me a lot of Rebels Romance. He's a big, strong Dubawi. He's at her first victory, so his mother's a half sister to she's out of Eastern Joy, so she's a half sister of Thunder Snow and Itamal and Winter Lightning. This is a huge family. He's just very talented, visually stunning. Last time, it was one of the best debuts or one of the best maiden wins I've seen all year.
Charlie Appleby. I mean, the flames coming off of the man. Leaving aside the performance in North America, I got a note actually from my friend Rob Dove, one of the top 10 pro punters in the UK today, who had him, I think, over the last month, just domestically at 40% winners. I'm told that's good. So you don't have to twist my arm one bit to include number one, Corriebus, in your reckoning of this race. Alex, how do you see it?
So I'll discuss Masekela. Masekela is going to probably be the favorite here. Another horse that's surrounded with some pretty good form. Won the Deadford Stakes pretty well last time out. Defeating Bayside Boy. We saw Bayside Boy come back in a short field, upset Reach for the Moon, a horse owned by the Queen who had a lot of potential and still does to that extent. Lost 2 back was to Native Trail. We saw Native Trail in a fantastic effort to outdo Point Lonsdale. The big question with Masekela is that slight jump up to the mile. I don't think it's going to be an issue. It's by El Kabir, who is a miler himself, and is also a half sister to Essoff, who finished second in the Cape Verde out at Maidan. So the mile really won't be an issue. Didn't see how the price is on Masekela, but I think she's going to be it'll be the toughest to beat here. Fair
enough. Naomi, where are you in this one?
So I actually landed on Royal Patronage for Mark Johnson. I absolutely love that this 2-year-old has just continued to learn and develop and is so professional. He won the ACOM by taking the lead and just taking him all the way. I love the professionalism that he showed and that continued progression. Now his dam went over a mile and 2 furlongs, so I think the step up to the mile here is not going to be a problem for him at all. But as a price, I had a different price, but he's not running today. but I kept my eye on the lad that I gave out for the Champions Juvenile Leopardstown. He finished 4th in the end, beaten by 3/4 lengths that day. Just got, part of a blanket finish. Houth. He was 16-1 before, now down to 12-1. Unfortunately, I just loved the way he kept on going, he kept on galloping. Is that type of colt that just keeps on finding and keeps on sort of evenly grinding it out. Now, the track that we're looking at here, of course, the Newmarket Rolling Mile course, is a straight mile with a couple of dips, and it does slightly slant up towards the end. So you want the kind of galloper that doesn't start slowing down, but keeps on plugging on with that stride. Houth is your man, I feel, for that. Now, 12-1, is he most likely to win this race? Possibly not, but as an each way chance, I think he's providing value.
Very interesting idea at thereabouts of 12-1 for that son of Churchill. Certainly an interesting sire to keep an eye on. Let's talk about a couple more. Or did you have something else on that, Michael?
Just another each way shot that is worth a look from another O'Brien is Unconquerable at the bottom. He's coming the longest shot in the field, comes off a 2-month break, was a good third to Point Lonsdale on Group 3 company. Picks up Frankie, which is never a bad thing. And his runs are a lot better than they look if you go back and watch the replays. And he's out of a half to North Light, so he's going to like the up and trip.
Interesting notes there. Couple more stakes races on Saturday that we do want to talk about, or at least give you guys an opportunity to talk about. Again, no obligation. We weren't prepped for it, but we do have Group 1 action in the Juddmonte Cheveley Park Stakes, another race that has produced plenty of Breeders' Cup form. Michael, you have a thought on that one?
I actually had an opportunity to go to Gerline's yard last week and see Sacred Bridge, and she's 15-8 odds on right now, but I can't see past her in this race. She's just so classy, and she carries herself so well. She's a full sister to Viadera. They are looking at the Breeders' Cup after this. He's hoping that Juddmonte complies if she wins this. And I just think that she's not only your most likely winner here, but she may be your most likely winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf if she comes.
Very, very interesting note on Sacred Bridge, and Juddmonte certainly not typically opposed to sending them over. And we've seen the Breeders' Cup. I used to think there used to be a little bit of a bias. Oh, it would be team coming over. You don't want to send your Guineas horse or whatever. That's been out the window. Mm-hmm. The last few years we've seen, Derby form, Guineas form. Like I think it's the shipping process has become so much more smooth that you'll see the best 2-year-olds over here from time to time. So hopefully, if Sacred Bridge does oblige, we'll have a chance to see her come the first weekend in November out at Del Mar. Alex, did you have a quick thought on this?
Yeah, just a really quick thought. Could be a really interesting story. Zane Claudette ran extremely well last time out. Jockey Ray Dawson stays aboard. It's a really interesting story to follow, and I was impressed with the horse last time out.
All right, fair enough. We'll make a mention of that. Let's talk about the Middle Park quickly before we get out of here and wrap this segment. I notice we've got some familiar silks from North America going to be participating with the Glen Hill Farm in the mix with Castle Star, certainly one that I've been following that I'm interested in. But let me put it to you on the panel. Alex, we'll start with you if you had a chance to have a look at the Middle Park.
Well, the interesting point to me that what I'm looking to see from the race is just to see how Go Bears Go comes back. The effort last time out was defeated by Ebro River, and I don't know what to make of Ebro River. I did tip Ebro River that day, but at the same time controlled the pace and actually ran better than I thought, doing very similar the next time out. I think Go Bears Go is going to get back a little bit from that start. But again, that's when I'm going to watch the market, because if it's pending the prices, I might look elsewhere.
Fair enough. Michael, did you have a chance to look at this one?
Yes, I'm tempted to go with Dr. Zemf just because I saw the horse last week, but I'm not going to do that for 2 races in a row. I love HMS Endeavor. It's first foal of Lady Eli by Warfront. Just when you see an 8 days out run, like a short rest run for Aidan O'Brien, you have to really go back and watch the replay and see whether or not that was really just a trial run. And that's what that was last time. And this horse basically had a gallop, a paid gallop. And I think that at 16-1, if the horse stays in the race, first of all, like if he stays in the race, I think he's a serious horse. And if I think he's a horse that they're looking at the Breeders' Cup with, I would not be surprised at all with that pedigree.
All right. Very interesting thought on a big price. I'm pulling for Castle Star, but that's just me being a homer maybe, but I don't know. Goes with a chance, I think, based on what I've seen. All right, Naomi, before we let you get out of here, just want to give you a chance to tell people what you're up to, where they can find you. Will we have another Talk Racing to me soon?
Well, I'm definitely working on it. I did get the chance to speak to a couple of people about their favorite Breeders' Cup moments. That won't be on Talk Racing anytime soon, but still plenty of stuff, of course, to look forward to. But yes, at Laurel Park for the next 4 days, we have live racing. We had a terrific stakes weekend last weekend. Now, this weekend, no stakes races, but next weekend, another Saturday full of top class action. So quite a lot to look forward to. Unfortunately, not on the turf today, but in general, when we are back on the turf, it's been raining quite a bit here. We have really, really deep turf fields. So, as a European, I kind of like that.
I like it too, and it is a great looking turf course. Michael, who do we have there in frame?
This is Lady Olenna.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. We have the Game of Thrones themed Siamese names.
Yeah, she's about to go to the vet in about a half an hour. She got into a tussle with Varys, Lord Varys, and she cut her eye a little bit.
Season 8 of Game of Thrones playing out in your flat in Dubai, apparently.
Except watchable.
Are you telling me you regret by the end of Game of Thrones you regretted going with the Game of Thrones themed names? Is that what you're telling me?
It's I just say the thought I go with the original first 5.5 seasons.
It got a little tricky when they ran out of Martin. Yeah. Definitely got a little tricky when they ran out of Martin. Alex, my friend, have a great time. Where are you going next in your travels?
I'm gonna go find a house down the street and start preparing for our next interview. So no, I'm out towards Louisville right now. And as far as for the weekend, I'll have coverage up on the site for Friday and Saturday from the UK, as well as our Friday night for Australia. Some good racing up in Sydney, down in Melbourne, racing at Sandown, really big Group 1 there. So we're keeping busy.
InTheMoneyPodcast.com, the place to go for all of it. Thank you, team. We'll do this again soon. On our first segment on the show today, happy to bring in a new voice, somebody who I've had the pleasure of hanging out with at the Paddock Bar in Saratoga on many an occasion. And from talking to her about the way she looks at the game, a very interesting combination of somebody who has the knowledge of an industry insider, but somebody who also, more importantly, loves looking at the racing form and picking horses the old school way. Happy to introduce to the In the Money media audience, Jill Gentili. Jill, how are things?
Great, Pete. How are you? I think at Saratoga this summer, every time I saw you, had a giant Shake Shack cheeseburger in my mouth, but that
happens. That happens.
Comments will come out about that comment too, but what happens?
That's sort of what we do. Typically it's an adult beverage in one hand and a cheeseburger in the other, and then the racing form like tucked under the arm, or the printouts or whatever it is used. I want to give people a little bit of your background because I think it's interesting. When did you start playing the horses?
God, I was real young. I would say 5 or 6. My dad was taking me. I grew up in New England, so my dad was taking me to, Suffern Downs, as they call it, Rockingham Park, when that was still around. So I don't know if I'm dating myself, which I probably am, but again, that's okay. And I just grew to love it. I rode horses, all of that, but I really love the racing game. I love to handicap. I love to look at the racing form. I love to pick winners. Not that, if we were all picking winners all the time, we'd be rich and we wouldn't have to do this, but it's all a lot of fun to me, and I love playing the game.
Great stuff. All right, let's talk about this pick 6 on Saturday at Belmont. It kicks off in race number 6. We've got 2-year-old New York bred babies going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Where is your eye drawn in this spot?
Not normally a chalk eater. I feel like this horse is going to be the favorite. I am leaning towards the 8 here. That's my top pick, Overstep, the Todd Pletcher firster. You have a kind of a superfecta here. Pletcher, $360,000 yearling purchase, and Into Mischief, which I think they can all run. and some solid works. So I don't know what more you need with that, unless unless Pletcher's telling you the horse can't run.
It's definitely Overstep is an obvious one. Absolutely an A for me as well. And you made the case. I mean, you're seeing a New York bred by the mighty Into Mischief in the care of Pletcher. You don't need to know too much else. I'll say this: if this was a horse that wasn't the favorite or was somehow cold on the tote board, that would give me a little bit of pause in a bet like this pick 6 we're talking about. I wanted to have a couple of others on the ticket as well. I thought that the 4 Tappan Deep Bank was a live look for Brad Cox, costing $100 at the 2-year-old in training sale off Central Bankers' $6,000 stud fee. I was guessing that meant there's probably speed and precocity as part of the package. And then asymmetric, I thought the 9 was worth mentioning. Some pedigree power, being out of a dam that's dropped 7 winners, and the upstarts are typically above average first out. But I mean, I totally get the idea that it goes through Overstep in many ways. And if Overstep is a heavy favorite and or looks the part, I'd probably shuffle the order. I wrote it down 4, 9, 8, but I could see pressing up to 8 as the situation calls for it. Was there anything else you needed to start off this pick 6, or should we move on to the next leg?
I looked at the 1 a little bit, saw that this horse had a really fast breeze, one of the fastest at OBS April, and he ran in 10 flat, which is definitely something to look at. The works are okay. I do like Hernandez in the irons, and the 1 hole is a little bit tough. So, it could be something, it could be a horse that I would put in my pick 6 ticket just to get some value there. Later on in the card, I think there's a lot of chalk. So I'm also with you. I looked at the 4 Tappan the Bank. Earlier in the year, I was told Central Banker was one of the hottest New York sires on the market. I haven't seen that yet, but maybe this horse will prove everybody wrong, and this horse will run on Saturday. So I was going 8 top pick with the 1-4 here.
I'll leave the 1 and the 4 as backup types for you with a strong fancy of the 8. Let's talk about race number 7. We move on to the grass, and it looks like the weather's going to cooperate. I should knock when I say that. But I'm hoping we're going to be on the grass here. A mile and an 1/8 on the inner turf, and my eye was very much drawn to number 10, Zarkalani, in this spot. Out of the mighty Zarkava, an ARC winner, and just a big upgrade for me coming off the trip last time when he did not break particularly well, got stuck behind a slow pace. I thought every right to improve for Christophe Clement in the second start in North America. The 7 Flop Shot, another with some overseas form, I thought moved too soon in that stateside debut. That was a quick pace. I know that race was a very long time ago, but it did produce 4 next out winners. Now he's back with the blinkers on, off this break as a new gelding. Just seemed like an obvious big shot horse with a chance to with a trainer that does fine off these extended breaks. And then one I was going to mention at a price was the 12 Angelus Warrior. A little bit of imagination required, I think, but has some finish. Good mark at the distance. Not necessarily going to be an easy trip from out there, but if they're a big enough price, I don't worry about that so much. I saw it 10 and 7 on the A line with some backups on the 12. What was your opinion in this race?
I'm really leaning towards the 5 here, Opry. I think that'll be the lone speed in the race. The horse runs best on the lead. If you look at his form, I mean, when that horse goes out to the lead, he's really tough to beat, always there at the end. I also looked at the 2 Shamrocket, always tough. It needs a target. We'll probably get that in Opry. So right now I'm leaning towards the 5-2. Also looking at the 7. I know the horse has been off since June, but Chad can get these horses ready. And I really think, the horse has recently been gelded or run with blinkers on this time. He's pretty much throwing everything into the pot here to try to get this horse the win. So right for this race 7, I'm leaning towards the 5 with the 2-7 underneath.
I really like that idea, what you're doing on your A line in here with trying to have the horse that does project to be the best speed Opry. And I could see Shamrock it being one of the best closers. And then, Flop Shot we talked about. There aren't many trainers I'm willing to bet off a 476-day layoff. But Chad Brown would be on what is a very short list for me. Hopefully we can get through race number 7 and move it along to race number 8, where we've got the filly and mare allowance types going 1 mile on the turf. And Jill, we'll keep this one with you.
I'm again leaning towards the 8 here in a hurry. Can't really knock this horse for anything. Always right there. Got beat by Pocket Square, who is we'll talk about later in the card, but it's probably my single for the day. So when you look at her form, it's really tough to knock this horse. You know, I went for a long shot in my second pick here, the 7 Platinum Painter. I'm throwing out her last race. I'm looking at her past form here, and I think, you know, again, she'll be out to the lead. Opposite of the last race, there's a lot of speed in this race. I think they're all going to go, but sometimes you say that and no one goes.
They all grab.
Everybody holds back. So, you know, hopefully Loscano will go out and gun it with Platinum Painter and try to steal it on the lead. I think that's the only way that she can win here. The 9 horse, Miss Drakaris, may have beat a weak field last time at Monmouth, but any horse that wins by almost 7 lengths on the turf, you have to take a look at. She's the heavy favorite that day. And, you know, she did beat some real nice horses at Belmont in the race prior. I think Too Sexy is a really good horse, and she's definitely someone to look at here. So I'm really leaning towards the 8 with the 7-9 here.
It shows you what an open race it is, that I absolutely understand the cases for every horse you just talked about, and yet came up with 3 different ones that I was going to talk about. But I mean,
I would have used the all button here if I could.
I went with the 4 Kitten by the Sea as the top pick, just consistent, in form, winning type. I thought would get a great trip right in behind the speed, or in that same scenario you described, if everybody does decide they want to take a hold, I think could also do all right on the lead. But I'm hoping for a stalk and pound strip from Kitten by the Sea. Clara Peters, I thought this was an interesting one on the condition angle, back relatively quickly for another run following the long break. I thought should improve, and just she's got some back races that are good enough. And one other I'll mention is the 5 Bramble Queen, who outran the odds the last time she played the Big Apple. I felt like had the right blend of speed and stamina to maybe get a good mid-pack type trip, but ahead of the deeper closers and maybe able to pass tiring leaders, at least for a smaller piece. For me, it was 4, 10, and 5 to recap. For Jill, 8, 7, and 9 in what appears to be a wide open 8th race at Belmont on this Saturday card. And that'll bring us into race number 9. We've got more 2-year-old New York breds going 6 furlongs on the dirt. I'll kick this one off with an obvious one. The 5 Happy Bee has run the best races, including the stakes effort last time. And I thought, looking at the pace line of that race, it was just a little bit oddly run, moving into the teeth of a fast-looking pace, kind of flattening out, staying on again late. This is a horse I think could be really interesting back in against maidens with a more measured run through. There are a couple others I want to use, including a first-time starter, the 4 Iron Lion in Zion, which is also just kind of fun to say. Eye-catching bullet work, 2 back, and this dam has produced 4 winners. Barn's going well. I wanted to keep on side. And the 6 Woohoo That's Me. I thought that was maybe a little bit of a subtle, hidden improvement in the stake last time when the figure ended up being okay, despite a really bad break that you could have almost drawn a line through the race, in my opinion, based on that. I was going to leave the 6 in the mix too. I had it with the 5 as an A and the 4 and 6 as backups here in race 9. Jill, who's your idea of the winner?
I'm actually on board with everything you said. I have the exact same numbers as you. I love the 5 here. I also love that there is a new pilot in Vasquez, which in my opinion is a much better jock than who was on the horse previously. And I think that will really help the horse here. I also love the Woohoo That's Me, the 6 horse, as well as in Lion in the Zion, who's a full brother to Shane's Pretty Lady, who happened to break his maiden at Belmont, her maiden at Belmont, excuse me, first time out. So definitely something to look at there. And then I would again throw in Brad Cox, based on that September 5th work. I don't like that the mare is by Freud, which is, mainly turf pedigree, but it's the horse. I don't think this field is that strong, and who knows how this horse will run first time out.
That's the 10 Eddie the Great.
Exactly.
We'll keep that one in the mix as well in our recorded picks, and we'll move on to stakes action. It's the Athenia. We have 200,000 in the pot for these fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, going 9 furlongs on the Belmont turf. You've tipped your hand, and I think I agree with you. How are you going to approach this one?
Pocket Square is my single for the day. I don't think any horse can beat her in this race. She's been beaten by some monsters the last 2 races, the Appleby horses, which were, unbeatable. Everything Appleby has brought to the States has won, which has been amazing. Yeah. So I really think she stands out above and beyond this field.
Totally agree. This one's always been well thought of, really looks to have come into her own. And I just love the way she runs. She's so handy, and she quickens up like a grade 1 miler. She's just going to be too much for these. If you want to back up, if you want horses for underneath, the 2 Miss Tehran, another who looks to have turned a corner. I thought was unlucky last time. Didn't get the cleanest run through. Still nearly nailed the 3-5 winner on the line. We've seen this movie before in the graded stakes in New York, where it's Chad Brown 1-2. We may be up for another showing in the Athenia. And then really only for verticals, number 1, Lake Lucerne, I thought could maybe come running out late to round out the try. All about the 4 for me, with a little bit of 2-1 and some nice agreement there in our stakes action, which brings us to, for pick 5 and pick 6 players, the most important race of the day. Maiden special weight fillies and mares, 3 and up, going 6 furlongs on the Belmont turf in race number 11. And Jill, we ask you the key question: how are we going to get paid?
Well, I don't know if you agree with me on this one, but I found this race incredibly tough to handicap. I would lean, my top pick was the 5, Escape with Friends. I think she ran huge last time. I think this is her sweet spot, going shorter on the turf. 6 furlongs looks to be, where she wants to run. And that was my top pick. I'm kind of, I say top, kind of, I'm not that convinced, but if I had to pick one, it would be Escape with Friends. I also like the 2 Clement horses, the 2 and the 3 here. I think that Saratoga Gaze is interesting. Aleaban out of Skygazer. I really like the works on this horse. Clement has them ready first out. He's shown that at Saratoga in a lot of turf races. The 3, I'm not sure where she wants to be, if she wants to run long or short. It's really a wait and see, but I will put her on the ticket as well. And I will also use the 6-9 here. Road to Remember. The last race was very nice. Just got beat by Escape with Friends. So I figure if I'm using Escape with Friends, I better use her as well. And the 9 is, if I had some extra money, I'd throw her on the ticket as well. I think she's an interesting horse here. If you look at her breeding, she looks like she wants to go short on the turf. So either shortening her up in this race. Let's see how she runs.
Is that Akushla? Is that the 9? It's always tricky when I make people such as yourself do these races so early, and we don't have like the morning lines or the program numbers. It's definitely an extra challenge, but I appreciate the fact that you were up for it. But yeah, the 9 Akushla definitely. Everyone you made cases for that all make sense to me. I was going to try to use 3. You mentioned 2 of them. I put She's the One on top. I thought ran a bit inefficiently first time out, moving a bit too soon. I think she can win with normal second out improvement. Plus, and now we were talking about dating ourselves. I'll date myself to say that this is a great hunch play for fans of a cut 2 side 2 of one of the greatest rock and roll albums of all time, Born to Run.
That's right.
You got to have the Springsteen reference. I got to keep them on side. Escape with Friends was the one I listed second, ran really well in the first start for the new barn. breaking slowly, closing into slow fractions. I don't think Escape with Friends has to improve very much to win here. Just has to get away from there clean. One that you did not mention that I will, another musical reference with number 12, You Should Be Dancing, has the figures and form to be competitive, and Rudy Rodriguez has been known to move up new acquisitions, plus, Bee Gees' Children of the World LP. I had that growing up. I don't need to have
on roller skates. That's the question.
I did roller skate from time to time. We had that as an option in gym class, if you can believe it. So, when we were young, we had the ridiculous parachute thing that a lot of people of a certain age remember. But then when we got to high school, they changed things up. We had roller skating, and somehow in Port Washington, Long Island, Nassau County, not far from Belmont Park, we had square dancing, which was just fantastic. So wherever, as much as I enjoyed the soccer and the football and the softball and all that, it really all came down to the roller skating and square dancing. If you knew what was good for you. That's
fantastic. We did not have square dancing, but I'm envious about you having square dancing. Well, I mean, I wish I knew how to square dance. Now that I'm in Kentucky, I just, you could probably learn. It would probably be an opportune time to learn. I don't know if they've converted completely to line dancing at this point. But we could probably find somebody to, trying to remember all the ridiculous square dancing terms that I used to know. But it was a ton, seriously a ton of fun. Hey, you mentioned being in Kentucky. I know you were working the sale over the course of the last week. What's been the atmosphere like down there? It's been a great buzz, very busy. People are buying. People are really buying freshman sires. It's very hot and cold. The City of Lights are selling like wildfire, whereas I feel like the people are already cold on the West Coast. So it's kind of interesting to see, where people land, where you don't know how any of these horses are going to run, and how they'll do in the future, how these sires will do in the future. But they're already cold on a couple of sires, hot on a few. You'll be interested to see what happens next year when these horses are 2-year-olds.
Absolutely, it's always fun to see, and there is such like fashion and trends and things within the game. People will get, it's just like the gossip columns or something. People will you get very interested in following so and so, and then it's this week's model or whatever, however it turns out to be. But I have been noticing the success that the City of Lights have had, and that's a horse that was near and dear to me. I saw Michael McCarthy himself with one of the pricey ones out of book one, signing the ticket. That was cool. That was cool to see. We're a big fan of that operation on here. He's been on the shows many times. Well, this has been great stuff. As we say, no good deed goes unpunished around here. So I hope you'll come back and join us again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Pete. I really appreciate you having me, and good luck on the Pick 6.
That's going to do it for this edition of the show. But for a few extra thank yous, we'll start with all the talent that helped us out today. New guest, Jill Gentili, Scotty McKeever, Drew Coatney, Michael Adolphson, Alex Sausville, Naomi Tucker. I think that's everybody. It was a lot of people on the show today. We're also going to thank producer Craig, pushing all the right buttons. Been great. It's always great to have him back in the chair with us. Another reminder to check out his show, Odds Honest Truth, which is out right now for this next week of the football season, both college and pro. Our founding partners, TRF, you heard about them earlier in the show, trfinc.org/players. Important time to give for them as they get towards crunch time here at the end of the year. Also, 10 Strike Racing. We always love to root. I've even got the hat today for it with the purple and the black. We always like to root for them. Look forward to doing more with 10 Strike in the future. Most of all, though, want to thank all of you, the listeners and viewers, especially those of you who support us through In the Money Plus and Horseplayer Happy Hour. Oh, by the way, Horseplayer Happy Hour will be back with the first round of the playoffs next week. You'll be hearing a lot more about that in the coming days. This show has been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kinchin. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos